guys, how
Hi.
are you?
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. So to start, one of the most for me kind of like horrifying things to watch was like the years go by in that first episode, like w fully knowing what's about to happen. But it was so interesting to watch these characters kind of live in that moment of like not knowing what was to come next. For you both as creatives behind the scenes, what was the kind of like balance of making sure that these characters got to live in that brief moment of bliss and then that fear while we as the audience were kind of horrified knowing what was about to happen.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
please.
I think that's really well articulated. I mean, I think we always talked about how, of course, we have this perspective from now looking back then that and this series and the book that preceded it that Georgia wrote is so well researched, and we did additional research when making the series, and so we had all of that perspective, but then in a lot of ways you have to forget about it when trying to write the series, because it's really important to not get ahead of what the family knows, and to really, because I think what we always said is we didn't want to create a period piece that felt distant. We wanted to feel close and personal and intimate, and to really collapse time in some ways. And I think a huge part of that is the family only knows what the family knows. They don't have the bigger lens. They don't have the perspective of history. And so we really tried to stay present in those moments and imagine what they would actually be experiencing.
Yeah, and Tommy, when you're striking the I keep saying striking the balance, but when you are doing that later, when there is characters going through like trying to find love and try and find those little moments of happiness in the midst of kind of everything else going on around them, how do you as a director approach making sure those moments of humanity and their human emotions pop when we do know all of the darkness that is surrounding them?
Well, because directing for television is a really fun relay race where you have other directors as partners, and we had two excellent ones in Amit Gupta and Nyasa Hardiman. One of the things that we all talked about collectively is to go to the text because it was on the page. And so if
Mhm.
it's on the page, you have a chance. And if you don't, like, there's really nothing you can do. And every episode, no matter what the family was facing, there was some moment that was going to occur where we, the viewer, might know exactly what's going to happen. And then there were also moments in history that I'm sure are probably less articulated that we didn't know.
Mhm.
And so, again, if we could keep our point of view limited to what the family knew, that they didn't know what was on the other side of the wall, and we were with them, then we knew it would get the viewer immediately connected to that moment. And whether that moment was one of joy and first love, whether it was, am I going to see this person again? Like whatever the sort of heightened emotion was, it felt, if you have the language, and again, at that point, our actors were so dropped in, you could have given them anything, once you get to those couple episodes in, and really they're living with it, and it becomes much more theirs than ours. And so our
Mhm.
job is just to try to service them and give them things that they need, because they're starting to report back from inside and say, this feels a little different than I thought when I read it a month ago. And then, are able to sort of work from that place. But it's a remarkable group on that side of things that informs a lot of the work for those of us behind the camera have to do.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for talking with me. Before I leave, I do say, Tommy, thank you for giving me the hottest Sweeney Todd. I was so happy watching Sweeney Todd both times I've seen it because I was like, yeah, those two totally in love with each other despite not ever having that confirmed. And I loved it very, very much.
Oh, I'm so glad you got a chance to go see it again. Thank you for seeing it, not once, but twice. I knew I liked you
So,
twice as much as everybody else.
but
Um,
thank you guys for talking to me. I really
Thanks for your time.
appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it.
Thank
Have
Thank
a
you.
great
you.
one.